102.7 WMOM, Pentwater, Ludington, Manistee, and all of West Michigan. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning and welcome to Leading West Michigan, a show about success and featuring local leaders and people in local business. And now here's your host, Ryan Howe.
Good morning, West Michigan. We have a great show for you today. I'm Ryan Howe. I'm a business coach who helps organizations grow. I help companies like Matthews 6 Construction, Changeover Integration, and Safe Harbor Credit Union with every aspect of their company. Why wait? Start your business transformation today. Follow Summit Business Guides on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and connect with me on LinkedIn and learn more at summitbusinessguides.com. So this show is all about learning about our guest leadership journey, and joining us today is James Jensen, the president of the Mason County Historical Society. Morning.
Good morning.
Sorry, excuse me, Jim. Yeah, so I really appreciate you coming on here. When I originally put the list together of people that I wanted to have on the show, you were on that original list. And mainly just because of the work you've done here a little bit, but I'm really excited to have you on here because I have so many questions I'm going to bug you about today. I'm looking forward to it.
Looking forward to it myself.
So with that, for those that don't, again, Historical Society, if you could just give a quick little overview on exactly what the work is that you do there, and then we're going to get into you.
Very good. Mason County Historical Society was started in 1937, actually, here in Ludington, in the courthouse, which is just up the street from where we're at right now. It was almost an informal organization when it started, gathered materials, stored them in various places around town, and eventually got permission to use the basement of a church for a very small museum. And a woman named Rose Hawley operated that, was a dedicated volunteer. By the way, all of us are volunteers. This is just a passion for us. She would invite people into that small museum. One of those people was me when I was 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
And it was located right behind the Ludington Daily News office, and I was an entrepreneur my whole life. I delivered newspapers when I was 11 years old,
oh, wow.
and when I had a little extra time, I would stop and talk to Rose, and never dreamt that I would end up being involved in the Historical Society, or certainly never dreamt I'd be president of it.
Oh.
But that's how I got started in it. Since then, the society has expanded. We have a larger organization. We operate 3 different venues in Ludington. Most people know about Historic White Pine Village, but we've operated that for 48 years. We operate the Port of Ludington Maritime Museum, and we're very happy to announce that a couple of years ago we opened the Mason County Research Center, which is just half a block from where we're sitting right now.
So. Oh, yeah, it's great. And there's a lot of history with that building as well, too, which we'll get into a little bit later, too. Excuse me. So with that, where are you from, Jim?
I grew up in Ludington, on the north side of Ludington, and this area, you know, I mentioned to you earlier as we were preparing. I probably have a connection to almost every building around here. I attended grade school in a elementary school a block and a half from here, where Longfellow Towers is now. Yeah. My first job outside the home was for the Ludington Daily News, which is a couple blocks from here. I spent countless hours at the library right across here. I registered for the draft during the Vietnam War in the in the post office right there. I worked as a teenager for J.C. Penney Company, which is where Hallmark is right now.
Hard to say. I remember they had that. Yeah, it was right over there.
And so I have a lot of connections in the community.
And your family goes, and we at Rotary. That wasn't last week. Yeah, it was last week. It wasn't this week. Where you got a chance to learn a little bit more. I gave a quick little presentation there about you, and you mentioned your family has some pretty deep roots here. How far back do they go?
On my mother's side of the family, my great-great-great-grandfather was here in 1850.
Wow.
And farmed out in Summit Township. And on my father's side, it only goes back probably to around 1870.
Oh, only to 1870. Okay, all right. So relatively a newbie. Okay, got it. So, no, and that's saying that for me, that was just really interesting. Just getting those roots that are always in that area, just like that too. Again, I was a military guy, and my kids, they've traveled all over the place. So to learn that you had been in one spot the entire time, I think is pretty It's amazing to hear that. So with that, how about school for you? You mentioned a little bit about school. Did you enjoy school?
Yes, I did.
Where was your main focus? Like, where'd you spend your time at in school? Like, what was the thing that really hooked you?
I enjoyed the most of my classes. I enjoyed learning. I'm an avid reader, still am. I had several friends I was very close with back then, and still am close to now. Maintained friendships for a long, long time. I played sports. I was never very good at it, but I was.
What were the sports you played, or attempted to?
I played football and ran track.
Okay, ran track. Okay, all right. Were you were you a distance guy, or were you a sprinter?
No. I was a high hurdler in track.
Okay,
and then ran on. Actually, the team I was on held the county record for about 6 months or a year, I guess, and. Back in the days when they still ran the 880-yard relay instead of the 4x200 meters. So.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. That's great to hear. And again, as far as you said, you liked all your classes. And you mentioned it was the learning thing, which makes sense, obviously, here with your current work, but also, so are you just one of those students that would come in and naturally ask a bunch of questions to the teacher, want to basically understand more of the underlying piece, or you just wanted to get the data in? Which one would you say?
Oh, I very much wanted to know why things were happening. I've always looked at things that way. So yes, it was, and I probably admit in high school I probably didn't work as hard as I should have. I enjoyed myself and I worked all the time. I mean, I always had a job.
Okay, so. We'll come back to the job thing in a second. So you mentioned you were somebody who enjoyed all of school, like learning everything. What did that look like for you trying to figure out what you're going to do after school then? Like, because a lot of folks, they have a lot of young women when they're in high school, they've got their passion. They really enjoy, one or two tracks. They're on the, the sciences side or the arts or whatever, or maybe they have a business track in mind and they want to go that direction. But if you like everything, how did you come to the decision on what you wanted to do with school or where you wanted to go? What'd that look like?
Well, in terms of what I wanted to do, I've always said in my family, the men, or the people in my family, either ended up being teachers or carpenters, and I can barely not drive a nail straight. So I was heading towards the line of being a teacher.
Teacher track.
My grandmother was a teacher. My mother was a teacher. My brother was a teacher. So that's sort of where I was heading. And then at age 14 or 15, my sister married a farmer. And at the age of 15, I started spending my summers living on the farm with my sister and my brother-in-law, and discovered agriculture, something I didn't know. And I did a lot of work on the farms. I worked for 56 years in the cherry business, based on starting.
That's a lot of years, Jim.
Yes. And so it's one of those things that just sort of happened to me. I didn't plan on that. My ancestors actually had moved off the farm probably 3 or 4 generations ago, and so it was just a pure coincidence. My sister married a guy who I became very good friends with. He was the best man at my wedding.
Oh, look at that.
And so I went and worked in that business, in the ag business, fruit business.
Okay. Again, if you're just joining us, we're talking with James Jensen, the president of the Mason County Historical Society. I'm Ryan Howe. This is Leading West Michigan, and the show is all about learning about our guest journey here on 102.7 WMOM. And you mentioned that. So yeah, you went into agriculture, which is interesting. So what did your parents do then if they'd moved off the farm a few generations ago?
Well, my mother raised 6 children,
okay.
And then
that's a job for sure.
Right, and then actually went back to school, and at age 51 graduated from college,
okay.
And started to teach and taught middle school mathematics and science.
Oh wow!
Here in Ludington.
Wow! So she went straight from basically raising the family to now quite possibly having to deal with the folks at another level of transition, that middle school piece, and then having to go there. That's
precisely.
Yeah. Okay.
And my father worked in various jobs, worked in various factories, and ended up most of the last part of his life or working life worked for the C&L Railroad. He was a clerk, worked in an office there.
That's great. Again, that's the ties in the community. It's always interesting to how that comes together. So with that, you got into agriculture. You're saying, right. How did that lead to like your next phases in life then? Because working on working on a farm, but then running basically an agricultural facility and those things are completely different things. So what did that look like for you in that transition to head that direction?
I think the first few years, first few summers, it was just basically getting to understand what ag was all about and the people. I frankly I knew my father went to work every day. But I didn't really go there with him, so I really didn't know what he was doing. But I've never knew people who worked harder in my life than the people in the ag business.
Yeah.
It was a real eye-opener to me.
It's the same. We got the family farm in Custer there, and, it was wake up. I mean, you basically, once you woke up, you might come home and grab a quick little bite to eat, and then you're gone sitting on a tractor. With Facebook, it's interesting to watch my Uncle John. Is he's still out there? Like 9:30, he'll be sending pictures from the tractor. He's like just finishing up, and I'm just like, man, good on. It's the work that the farmers do around here. It's impressive, to keep us all fed and do those things.
Agreed.
So with that though, you saw this hard work, and that was something you liked.
And one of the farmers that I met out there, a man named Elmer Peterson, who was a farmer in Summit Township. I must have been 17, 18 years old, and he came up to me while I was out there, and he said, "Jim, you really ought to think about going in business." And he saw something in me that I didn't know was there, and I hadn't even thought about it. And so that just sort of stayed in my head, and I went to, after high school, went to Michigan State University. My undergrad degree from Michigan State is in straight mathematics.
Okay.
I thought I was going to honestly be an actuary, just work with numbers, determine how long people are going to live so they could price the insurance policies properly. I discovered that wasn't where I wanted to be because it didn't involve people. I always thought of myself as a numbers guy, but I really am a people person. I enjoy people. So I decided I'd teach. I would do what I had sort of thought I was going to do. And I did. I went back to school, actually, and got the certification for teaching. And I did teach for 4 years. I was a high school mathematics teacher.
Where'd you teach at?
In Grand Rapids Union High School.
Okay, Grand Rapids Union. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what was that transition like then, going down there to, again, from being up here, and now you're teaching down, again, down in Grand Rapids Union? What was that like as far as the students and the... Well,
the biggest transition was and I suspect everybody here from Ludington probably goes through it. If you go from a city of 8,000-9,000 to a campus that has 40,000 students and another 20,000 people who support them, that was the transition. that was what I had to deal with. I interviewed several places, and frankly, one of the reasons I was hired in Grand Rapids was that the assistant superintendent of schools in Grand Rapids had a cottage at Epworth.
Oh, there you go.
And like the fact I was from Ludington, we were able to communicate because of that, and so I ended up going to work there. Grand Rapids Union was in the late 1960s when I was there. Early 1970s was going through the throes of the integration, the racial discord that was going on. It was a real challenging place to be. I loved teaching. And I really appreciated my students. I enjoyed them.
Yeah, it's one of those, and I've mentioned this before on the show here, that I've always thought that for business, basically for any business professional to be able to make it to that next tier, they need to spend some time teaching. It's because you get that real-time feedback on your thoughts and the way you process information, and you're presenting it to folks that frankly half don't even want to hear what you have to say, and the other folks, they're waiting an opportunity to tell you you're wrong. And so it'd be able to work through that, but also knowing when you struck a chord, knowing when to follow certain themes down. Like there's things that you innately get after spending time teaching that once you move back into the business world and you're having to talk with people, and especially in a leadership position to move people in a general direction, being able to read the room and know when you're struck a chord or when you've completely had a flat note hit and you gotta like, you know what, let's break for a bit. We may come back to that later. So that's interesting. So you said you did 4 years. What was the transition like after that then?
I've always been a person that, number one, that wants to work, and so during the summers of my high school life, during the summers of my college life, during the summers of my teaching, I worked in the cherry business. I came back here to Mason County, to Ludington, and worked in the cherry business. And through various things, working on the farm, working at a plant, driving a forklift, being a foreman in the receiving operation, several things like that. And finally, after 4 years, my wife and I decided that we had to make a decision where we were going to live long term. And I had to decide what I wanted to do, and I decided business was what I was interested in. I actually started taking business classes while I was teaching. I would after I was done, I would drive to the Grand Valley State University, I think it was State College at that time, and take business classes.
Okay.
Because my undergrad was straight math, had no business.
Sure. So. Yeah, that's, and you know, I'm thinking back, you mentioned you go to that business piece, and that's where I would go back to, again, for all of us out there who are listening. I'm sure you've been this person as well. We all have at various times, may not have realized it, but people listen to us when we talk. You know, when you're talking, people do listen. And when you have an opportunity, like, you said Elmer Peterson, correct, right? Mm-hmm. Mentioned saying you really should go into business without maybe going into the reasons why or anything, but it planted a seed and for some reason resonated with you. And that's something where I remind people, both on good and bad. Folks are always listening to what we're saying, and just be careful what seed you're planting, because you always want to be planting stuff that's going to sprout goodness later. Right. Those other spots there. So I think we forget our impact sometimes when we're dealing with folks. So, all right. So you made the decision coming back up here, getting into the cherry business, and where did you end up working? What'd that look like?
Well, I had worked part-time for a company called Ludington Fruit Exchange, which is the plant on South Pier Marquette Highway. It's still there. It's been renamed, different ownership now. I had worked there during my college career and during my teaching career. And because of that, I went back and started working there on a seasonal basis almost. I did the substitute teaching, which is a real challenge.
Yes.
Did a bunch of things like that, and eventually was asked to take over as general manager of that organization at age 27.
I already say eventually so at age 27, you went from, so I just make sure I get the timeline right here, because we're going to be heading break here in a second, but I want to make sure I get this. So we've got sister gets married, you learn about agriculture, you spend time in high school, you go off to college, but you're coming back and you're still doing some work, you get hired in as a teacher, but you need something to do on the summers because you're like, hey, I still got to be working. And you come back here, and then you make the decision to come back here, and then by 27, you're the general manager out there.
Correct.
So this is one thing where I go back to people for like time and time and time about this. If you keep getting pulled back to something, chances are there's something there. You know what I mean? Now, good, bad, or indifferent. Right. But you should spend time there, especially if I imagine, and we're going to spend more time about this for sure after the break, but I would say you probably got more out of those times when you were on your part-time coming in, or you're coming back on the summers. There was something that was filling like a need that you needed to have somewhere in you. Either, like you mentioned, people, or it might have just been on the business side or whatever it was. But I always tell people, just be aware when you keep getting pulled back to something, there's a need there, or something good that is fulfilling you in some way, shape, or form. Just be aware of that. So it's great you were able to go back to that time and time again. So 27, running the show out here. What did and again, when we come back from the break, I want to ask that question about what that was like for you to then come in and be like, okay, I was a math person, I was a teacher, I was just a forklift guy a little bit ago. I mean, not a little bit, but a few years ago, and now I've got that office over there, and I've got all these responsibilities. So, again, you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So we're going to go to this first break, and when we get back, let's hear about this time basically running the show and then what that led to next.
For the next few seconds, picture yourself retired. What do you see? What sounds do you hear? However you picture retirement, planning early is the best way to make it happen. And State Farm agent Aaron Doan is here in Mason County to help. I can chat with you about all the kind of retirement you want to have, and then help you find the best ways to save for it. A little today can add up to a lot tomorrow. So get started now. Call me, State Farm agent Aaron Doan, at 231-757-3115. And picture yourself happy. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Get ready for a mouth-watering experience at Big Apple Bagels. On February 22nd, join a delicious fundraiser supporting the Fighting Diamond Foundation in Shelby. Indulge in irresistible offerings, from classic breakfast bagels with egg, American cheese, and your choice of bacon, ham, or sausage, to a signature jumbo muffin available in individual or convenient packs of 4, 6, or 12. And for the coffee enthusiast, savor the aroma of our hand-roasted top 3% Arabica beans from around the world. Brewster's Coffee is not just a drink, it's an experience. Treat yourself to classic lattes, cappuccinos, or mochas prepared with Brewster's Espresso Blend. Feeling adventurous? Try delightful flavors like turtle mocha, cream caramel latte, and cafe caramella. 22% of sales from February 22nd until March 14th will be donated to the Fighting Diamond Foundation in Shelby. It's a flavorful way to make a difference in our community. So mark your calendars for February 22nd, and let's come together to enjoy fantastic treats and support a great cause at Big Apple Bagels in Ludington. Get fresh with us.
Hey, it's Josh from Metro Mortgage. Are you frustrated with the limited housing inventory in the market today? Have you been beaten out by a cash offer or multiple offer situation during your home search? We hear you. That's why we're here to save the day and make your home buying dreams come true with our Same as Cash program. Our Same as Cash program is designed to help qualified local home buyers level the playing field and effectively compete against the cash offers and out-of-area investors by eliminating the need for an appraisal or financing contingency. Call Metro Mortgage today at 231-425-5555 to significantly increase your odds of getting an accepted offer and make your home buying dreams a reality. Metro Mortgage is a division of Mortgage One Inc. and MLS 129386. Mortgage One is an equal housing lender.
Mom's Fridge Magnets are community calendar announcements presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan, CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
Lakeshore Automotive and Tire offers a clear solution for winter weather. New wipers. Stay ahead with fresh blades ensuring optimal visibility in the snow, sleet, and rain. Don't compromise safety. Let our experts equip your vehicle. Visit us on South James Street or call 231-425-3526. That's 231-425-3526. For swift blade replacement, trust Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, where safety and visibility unite. Drive confidently this winter with new wipers.
With cooler weather creeping in, now is the ideal time to make sure your home is protected and to ensure you will have a roof over your head if the unthinkable occurs. At McGee Insurance Group, we can help you find the right policy to protect your home and possessions and understand what's covered if disaster strikes. We're open weekdays from 8 to 5 and are located next to Pizza Hut on US 10 in Ludington. Our number is 231-845-5000. Contact us today to see what options are available for you.
Tuesday, February 13th, the Scottville Library will have Valentine's Day cookie decorating. This event will start at 3:30. Children under the age of 9 must be supervised. This event is free and open to the public. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, welcome back. Again, I'm Ryan Howe from Summit Business Guides. This is Leading West Michigan, and we are continuing our conversation with James Jensen, the president of the Mason County Historical Society. Now, before the break, we heard about your, and I will say, rapid rise, Because once you made the decision to actually move from teaching to, make your way over to the fruit plant over there, general manager, it was pretty quick. Do math there to be able to get that point once you all in. So now you're in the spot. So what was that like for you? Like, what were the first couple days in the general manager? If you can remember, or the first couple of months, what was that like for you?
Well, it happened very abruptly, and basically I had been there for a number of years on a seasonal basis, so I knew a lot of how things operated, but I was still working on why things were happening the way they were, and there was also some I don't know, personnel related issues that had been part of the whole transition that I was unaware of, and I had to deal with those things. I've spent my whole life continuing to reinforce the fact that it's more challenging and frankly more fun to deal with people than it is to deal with things. Okay?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I like the way you say fun. I say more interesting, but yes, either way, yeah, same. Yeah. So you're in the spot and you're working through the people issues, which if you've been in business for a long time, anyone that's out there listening, people are the business, regardless of what it is. They're involved, so it's part of the deal. Now, with that, one thing I want to ask you is you've also elevated up your peer group at this point too. Like we mentioned, we talked a little bit. Is now you're up in that position, so you have to get it, with your peers and the rest of the industry. What was that like? Now, again, as your time in this industry evolved, now you're up in reaching out to other folks in general manager positions or out in other companies. What's that look like?
Well, I think one of the things that was the challenge for me at that point was that I was 27 and most of them were 47 or 57 or 67, and I was the kid, if you will, and getting past that, and that took some work, but certainly as I aged, that dealt with as part of it. But as I got more interaction with people, I was able to get past that. I learned a lot of things, and I've always been a learner. I learned from the people who I was interacting with, developed very close relationships with people. I don't know if I was always accurate, but I got better at figuring out who I could trust and who I couldn't trust.
Okay. Yeah, I get that one. Yeah.
So, and it meant that it was a communication with people outside this community, because I was dealing with people throughout the state and throughout the Midwest, and eventually across the country. But I recognized even different areas, regional areas, geographical areas here in Michigan, the people thought differently. They approached business differently.
Could you give a quick example, like just a general?
Well, there were some areas where if you weren't at least third generation, you really didn't get very far in those communities.
Okay, I gotcha.
And there were others that would accept that if I could go in and sell whatever I was selling, or convince them to do what work with me on something. There were other areas where that was clearly more accepted than others.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, the moats that different communities put around themselves is always fascinating to see. Like, this is our tribe. Okay, that's a neat tribe. Okay, got it. I guess I'll go somewhere else then. All right, so be it. Or, hey, you know what? I can actually come in there and help you guys out. So with that, what did the evolution like again with your experience here? Because you've like, what was next for you? Like on the level for you and the evolution when it came to in the agricultural business for you.
Well, I was general manager of Ludington Fruit Exchange, and Ludington Fruit Exchange is a company that started 1920s here in Ludington. It had been around quite a while when I went there when I took that over in 76 or something like that. I wanted to build it. I wanted to make it better. So we built onto the plant. We expanded businesses. I brought in new tonnage. We were significantly larger after several years that I ran it. I was general manager, I guess, for like 12 years there, and that really led to the rest of my life. One of the things was that I wanted to go further. The challenge wasn't there, and I wanted to do new things. I wanted to build some more things, and it reached the point where that organization wasn't going to go that route, at least not at that time. And so I started looking for some other options.
Okay. What'd that look like?
Well, I had some other offers, and I turned down a couple of very good offers because it would have required moving me and my family out of this community into another location. And reluctantly, they were very good offers, but I turned them down because I really wanted to see if there was some way I could stay around here, but get involved in new things, build new businesses in particular. And eventually I was contacted by someone frankly, a headhunter that was looking to fill a position. And I ended up going to work down in Hart for a company that was actually based out in Oregon and had plants here in Michigan. And so I changed positions in 1987, I guess.
And what was the?
I went to a company called Gray and Company in Hart, Michigan, and they were the largest manufacturer of maraschino cherries in the country, and they had a plant in Hart, and there is still a Gray and Company plant in Hart. It's owned different ownership now. And they were expanding into some of the product lines that I had experience in at Ludington Fruit Exchange. And so I was hired there and went there as general manager of their Michigan operations for Gray and Company.
So was that just the one plant, or did they have multiple locations throughout the state too?
Well, we had at one production facility there. We had multiple. They were called receiving stations. They were locations where cherries were brought in. Most people aren't aware of it, but cherries that go into maraschino cherries they're sweet cherries brought in, put into a brine solution that cures them, preserves them, and they're stored in these locations all over the state. And then all through this rest of the year, they're pumped into tankers and hauled to the plant for processing.
Okay.
And so we had, I think, 12 different locations where we had products stored.
That makes sense. And that, again, that industry, again, as far as growing that and being part of that, especially that logistics operation, I'm sure was, you dealt with something similar before. So just on the scale going through that spot. So part of that, how long did that last? We got about 2 minutes till our next breaks. How long were you there for that?
To last in terms of that position?
Yeah, for the Gray and Company.
Oh, I was there for 9 years with Gray and Company.
Okay, all right. Yeah. And then what happened after that? Did you make your way back up here? What did it look like?
Well, there's a lot more to the Gray and Company story.
Okay, please continue.
Well, a year and a half after I was there, I was promoted to vice president of operations for Michigan. And a year after that, I was promoted to vice president of operations for the whole organization. And about a year after that, I was promoted to president and chief operating officer.
Outstanding.
Of the whole organization.
So that's just cruising up there. So that's the president of the entire organization. And you were able to work out of, we're going to head into our next break in a second, but so were you able to continue to work out of Hart for all that?
Well, I lived here, continued to live here. My wife and my children were here, and I lived here, but I traveled a lot. First, I lived in a hotel, and then I lived in an apartment for a few years. Every other week, I spent 4 days in Portland, Oregon, basically.
Okay, all right. That's we get back. I want to talk more about that, and then talk about the transition here towards Historical Society and how that how that happened. So you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and the WMOM YouTube channel. So let's get into this next break, and we get back. Let's talk about how you eventually started getting over towards the Historical Society.
It's time to shop for winter formals and prom. A Bride's Time in downtown Ludington has the perfect dress for you that won't bust your budget. Brand new top designer dresses starting at just $35. That's right, the perfect dress for just $35. Choose from over 1,000 dresses in size 000 to 30 in every color of the rainbow and in every fabric and style you can think of. Whether you want glitz and glam, classy or couture, simple or sassy, we've got the perfect prom dress for you. A Bride's Time is conveniently located on South James Street in downtown Ludington. Open daily for convenient after-school shopping hours. And as always, evening and weekend appointments are available. A Bride's Time Bridal, making your prom memories amazing for the past 35 years. A Bride's Time Bridal, 843-2624. That's 843-2624.
Calling all homeowners ready to kick winter worries to the curb? Get excited with Superior Exteriors, your go-to crew for gutter installations and roof fixes all winter long. No need to stress about leaks and icy surprises. Superior Exteriors uses a cost-effective approach to stop snow melt water from refreezing, ensuring that ice dams and icicles are proactively avoided. Call now at 231-907-2882. That's 231-907-2882. Let Superior Exteriors do all the work so you don't have to. Winter protection made easy with Superior Exteriors, your home's best defense against the chill.
Protect your truck, semi, car, tractor, or whatever your equipment is with Napa Auto Parts annual Fleet Filter Sale. Ludington's only locally owned auto parts store, Napa has been part of the community for over 50 years. No matter what the size of your fleet is, come in and save on all of your filter needs. All Napa Gold filters are now on sale at the lowest prices of the year. Change out your oil, air, cabin, fuel, or hydraulic filters now. Only have one vehicle in your fleet? Come on in and save. While you're here, save on other items like Napa oil for only $3.29 a quart or Challenger nitrile gloves for only $9.99 for a box of 100. If you want to save money, head to Napa Auto Parts in Ludington. Race into Napa Auto Parts in West US 10 or call 231-845-1221. That's 845-1221. Napa Auto Parts, driving excellence, powering performance.
This Valentine's Day, create memories that will last a lifetime. Surprise your special someone with a romantic rendezvous at Watson Motors, with a showroom filled with elegance, the latest models, and the promise of a journey together. At Watson Motors, we're not just selling cars, we're giving you the best experience. Join Watson Motors this Valentine's Day, where love meets the open road. Explore the perfect match for your style and let the thrill of possibilities ignite your hearts. Make it an unforgettable date at Watson Motors, because nothing says I love you like the promise of a shared adventure. Watson Motors, our name means a great deal.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, welcome back. Again, I'm Ryan Howe. This is Leading West Michigan, and we are continuing our conversation with James Jensen, the president of the Mason County Historical Society. And in rapid succession, we covered quite a few years to get you to the point where you're now the basically president for Gray & Company, and a few things that went on there. So talk about the next steps that kind of went on there, the next evolution for you with that.
When I left Gray & Company, I did various things for a while, and then a group of tart cherry farmers, sour cherries we used to call them, but tart cherry farmers contacted me and said they were looking at putting together a super cooperative, is what they called it. And Ludington Fruit Exchange was a cooperative, so I had experience with cooperative. They knew from my background at Gray & Company, I had built companies and had run some bigger operations. So they talked to me about putting together this super cooperative. And in March of 1997, I was hired to do that, and finally got everybody agreeing to put it together on July 1st of that year of 1997, which gave me 5 days before I had cherries coming in. I had no staff. I had I had I had negotiated some contracts tentatively with some warehouses. Did several things. We ended up growing that business. We handled, at one point, we peaked at handling about 80% of the tart cherries in North America.
Oh, wow.
Through that operation.
That's
here,
a lot of cherries.
Here in Ludington, and that was the key. I told them I would only do it if I could stay here in Ludington. I was done traveling. I was done spending half my life in an apartment someplace away from my wife and children.
That's good. And that's great. One, two different things. One, that you are making decisions in the best interest of you and your family, right? That's great. But also saying, hey, I'm more than welcome to help, but we want to also take care of the community here too, like be able to say that. So,
well, it came down to what I was doing was primarily an administrative function. We managed inventories, we did invoicing, we collected funds, we were the financing agent. All of those things, it was turning out, and I'm fairly technologically comfortable. Mm-hmm. We're going to things a way that I could do it without actually physically having to be at other places.
Yeah, 97 internet was basically probably 3 years in existence, really wholesale at that point.
And I
T1
could see
nets.
where it was going,
Yeah.
and so we were running everything that way. And we put in as modern technology as we could. Mm-hmm. The key was having a broad width on the
your bandwidth. Yeah,
the bandwidth.
Yeah, you got to have the broadband, the T1s.
But with that we could run the businesses here.
No.
So I hired a staff here. Had a very small staff, but I negotiated big financial deals with major banks to finance the cherry industry. That's one of the roles that company played.
Okay, all right, that makes sense, especially within the co-op. Yeah, it makes sense within the co-op. They're, hey, we need you to go do this thing. So we're continuing our conversation with James Jensen, the president of the Mason County Historical Society. And so you're here, you got this business running, doing its thing. And what did the next phases look like for you now that you've kind of got this set and you're here?
Excuse me.
No worries.
At that point, I really thought, I need to be thinking about, not only my family and my business, which, were very, very important to me, but more about what can I do for the community. So I started getting involved in a lot of different things in the community because I wasn't traveling anymore. Mm-hmm. I had, Elmer Peterson again had asked me if I would consider serving on the Summit Township Board, which I did. And then when my travel schedule got me traveling all over the place, I had to resign from that. When I wasn't traveling anymore, I wanted to reconnect. So I actually ran for the board again and went back on the Summit Township Board. And then I started getting involved in a whole wide range of other things in the community. It's a long list with a lot of things.
I have a feeling you've sat on just about every board and been involved in one way, shape, or another completely around here.
A lot of them.
Yeah,
yes.
I imagine that. So were there any of note that you were just like, this is the one that just kind of...
Well, I spent 19 and a half years on the community college board, on West Shore Community College Board, 8 years as chair. And that was something, because of my education background, that's something I really cared about. I was on the first board for, I guess, several foundations. For the Oceana County Foundation, I was on a board for the Letting Area Catholic Education Foundation, which supports the Letting Area School. I was on that board for 31 years. So those are the things probably that. But I've been on planning commissions, and I've been on
as you know,
you name it.
Not just because of the maybe. I don't want to say name or anything, but just begin your experience just lends you to be like, hey, we could use your help on this because you've had to do different versions of this, obviously maybe at a larger scale, but to be able to bring those best practices. So with that, you had to bring it back down to where we began with at the court. Basically, we're meeting up with, what was her name? I'm trying to go back to my notes here.
I didn't.
Rose Hawley. We had Rose Hawley, where you were starting with the historical and learning the stuff. How did that eventually come about?
Well, I've always been a reader, and I knew the people who were, running the historical society, and so I would go and visit once in a while and look at some things. And when I started to have more time, I started doing more things, and I was asked to write an article once in a while, so I would do that and various other things. And early on, maybe a little while after I started, it was the company here in Ludington was Chairco Incorporated, and after I did that, I joined Rotary, and you're a fellow Rotarian, so you understand this. I was asked to schedule a program Well, I thought, well, maybe I'll do it myself. So I put something together, and I presented a program to Rotary about the history of the streets of Ludington.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And I've given that 12 times since then. That same presentation expanded. But,
sure.
And that really I started doing more exploration, more involved. I wasn't on the board. I was still running businesses, but I was getting involved. And then as I got close to retiring, it got down to the point where I was being asked several times to join the board, and I finally said yes, I would join the board of the Historical Society. And through several circumstances, 2 years later, I was the president of the board.
That seems to be a recurring theme with you. Once they get their hooks in you, they just put you at the top. So we're going to head into our final break here, and I want to hear more about, definitely about, with the Historical Society, about the new building. When, obviously used to be a bank, all sorts of goodness going on there. I hear about the team and, really what's going on, how people get involved, and all things Historical Society for our last bit here. So you're listening to Leading West Michigan on 102.7 WMOM, at home on your Amazon Alexa or Google Home smart devices, streaming online at WMOM.FM, and live video streams on the 102.7 WMOM Facebook page and WMOM YouTube channel. So let's get into that last break, and when we get back, I want to hear about a bank that my mom used to work at.
Do you enjoy refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, building savings automatically, no monthly maintenance fees, and free digital banking? Well, Safe Harbor Credit Union offers a free checking account that pays 5% APY on balances up to $15,000. You can open your account within minutes. Innovative checking built on traditional values. Free Kasasa Cash rewards you for supporting your community. Some key features include high dividends, refunds on ATM withdrawal fees, no monthly maintenance fees, and no minimum balance requirements. To learn more, check out our website at safeharborcu.org or come visit us at our office at 5511 US 10. Member, owner, neighbor. Here, you're one and the same. Safe Harbor Credit Union.
Ready to make a meaningful impact in someone's life? Look no further than St. John's Home Healthcare. Our team is filled with compassionate individuals dedicated to our clients, providing you with a stable and rewarding career environment. At St. John's Home Healthcare, our staff loves what they do and the people they work with. Join us at St. John's Home Healthcare and become part of a team that truly makes a difference in people's lives. We're currently hiring in Ludington, Muskegon, Cadillac, and various other areas. Apply today at our main office located on North Washington Avenue in Ludington, or conveniently apply online. Your rewarding career awaits at St. John's Home Healthcare.
It's another way to increase the awareness of your events and happenings. It's Mom's Fridge Magnets, presented by Watson Motors, West Michigan CMH, McGee Insurance, and Lakeshore Automotive and Tire. Another fridge magnet comes your way next.
This Valentine's Day, go beyond roses and chocolates. Surprise your loved one with a gift that accelerates the heartbeat. A vehicle from Watson Motors. New or used, Watson Motors has it all. Get the best gift delivered if you want to keep the secret sweet.
Is stress, anxiety, or chronic pain holding you back? West Michigan CMH has a free app called MyStrength that helps you build a healthier mind for a stronger you. Go to mystrength.com and enter in the access code of WMCMH Community today.
Wednesday, February 14th. The Scottville Senior Center will be having a Valentine's Day potluck at 11:30 a.m. Bring a dish to pass and spend this Valentine's Day being social and sharing food. If your group or nonprofit organization has an announcement that you would like others to know about, reach out to us and we'll add it for free to the Fridge Magnet program thanks to Lakeshore Automotive and Tire, McGee Insurance, West Michigan, CMH, and Watson Motors.
It's Leading West Michigan, and we're back with your host, Ryan Howe, on 102.7 WMOM.
All right, welcome back. I'm Ryan Howe. This is Leading West Michigan. Hey, we're on to the final segment with James Jensen, the president of the Mason County Historical Society. And before we get to that, I do want to make sure, because I will forget, because we're going to get into some good stuff here. I just want to, if you see Debbie Howe tomorrow, just wish her happy birthday. So happy birthday, Mom. I know you'll be listening to this thing. So with that, let's talk about the Historical Society. Relatively new over here. The building, there was a lot of work that went into that as well.
Correct. One of the things that happened, I had mentioned that the Historical Society started with a very small museum, and it ended up growing. It was actually in 3 different locations here in Ludington, and then was moved. The archival storage was moved out to historic White Pine Village. And as in every museum in the country, it rapidly outgrew the space that was available to store things. And so we have been looking for some time about, do we build another building? Is there something else that we can do? And several years ago, the Sports Hall of Fame, Mason County Sports Hall of Fame, who had purchased that building and had intended to do something at the building here, which was at the PNC Bank building, got in touch with us and our executive director, Rebecca Berenger, who does an outstanding job for us, started a conversation with the Sports Hall of Fame, and we ended up putting an arrangement together, and we purchased the building and spent a lot of time and a lot of money to renovate it and make it a facility here in town that is a place for meeting, a place for research and so forth, but also has, that's a 2-story building. There's 5,000 square feet on the main floor. There's 5,000 square feet underneath it. The lower level is archival storage. It's restricted access. It's all temperature controlled. It's all humidity controlled and so forth, fire protected. And we have archives in that area. And by the way, it's already full. So
when you gave us the tour down there, I mean, packed to the gills. Everything's organized well, but it's just like there's so much stuff, and it keeps coming in.
It does.
But if you haven't been, anyone who hasn't been to the Mason County Historical Society, you're missing out. It's a beautiful, beautiful facility, and it's well thought out. I love the way that it's set up. I love what you've done with the vault, the specialty stuff there. It's again, it's just gorgeous where they have very, very important things that are inside the actual vault from the bank, but they've done it up really well. It's great, but also I think it's respectful to what you're doing as well too. It isn't like audacious. It's very, you come in and you can just tell this is a place where you're supposed to spend time and absorb and with what you're with to give you a chance to research.
No, thank you. From my business background, one of the things I knew was you didn't move a vault.
No.
and so what we did is repurpose 2 vaults, actually. Mm-hmm. The upper vault is what you're referring to, that is now has some fantastic displays. And we're able in there, because of how we structured things, to display some things that you haven't seen. We've had for years, but we couldn't find a way to display them. Now we can. There is a lower vault that is full of our newspaper collection on racks, and we have actual newspapers back into the 1860s.
Oh, wow.
So we repurposed both of those vaults. So.
Yeah, I remember when it was one of my school assignments, I had to go to the society and go find my the newspaper from the day I was born. It was one of those things I had to go get right down the headline and everything. I remember way that you have it versus what it was. Markedly better,
right?
Just saying, because I was worried about an avalanche taking me out when I was younger. So with that, how much? So you mentioned a few about your team. So the organization? It's all volunteer. Is that correct?
Right. We have a very small staff. And let me talk about them. They are extremely important. Rebecca Berenger is our executive director and has been with us for 10 years in various positions. We have a collections manager who is a degreed museums manager. That's what her degree is in, from Central Michigan University, named Amber Berliner. And then Michelle de Kuiper is our operations manager. And basically, I describe it in everybody wears more than one hat. You don't just have a role. I mean, when we need to do things, you do what needs to be done. Our collections manager, several days in the summer season, operates one of the facilities. Gotcha. Our operations manager, basically, her office moves to the historic White Pine Village in the summer.
Oh, I imagine.
I mean, that's how we're doing things. Okay. And we do have a extensive volunteer. We're always looking for a volunteer base. We would love to expand that. We have all sorts of opportunities for people. And we have added volunteers because we have this location here in Ludington now. We are membership driven. The board is elected by the membership, and the board elects officers. And
so with that's just a question about membership, because you mentioned that. What does membership? What's that do for someone when they join?
Well, with the membership, you get I don't want to say unlimited, but almost unlimited access to the historic White Pine Village, to the Port of Ludington Maritime Museum to the Research Center to do for research and so forth. You also get a newsletter every week with all sorts of different things in there, stories in there. The one that publishes every alternate week has an article that I wrote. There's an article in there today about a wonderful book called Now I Can Speak, an autobiography of a mill. And it's about the carom plant here in Ludington. So, and that's what my article is about today. And so there's those kinds of things. Plus, there are other there's discounts in the gift shops and so forth. And we have a range of memberships. We have a special membership for veterans. We have a membership for seniors. We have levels of membership that include a fair amount of donations. So it's a wide range.
So what's coming up next with the Historical Society that you have?
Well, I brought it. I couldn't remember all this, so I'll go quickly through this. We just held our second scanner night where you can bring in photos and
digitize.
Scan.
Yeah,
exactly. We're in the middle of our winter speaker series, and actually the next speaker is me. I'm speaking on February 22nd in the evening about Gibbs because you love good food, and I talk about. They actually had 3 different restaurants in Ludington and several grocery stores and a food processing business. And I've got a presentation that I do about that. We have another one of a presentation in March. We're looking at we have an estate planning discussion, I guess, in April. In May, we open all the other locations.
Okay.
Then it gets real busy. We have... I think 6 or 7 history and action days where we bring students out there. Mm-hmm. And we have up to 600-700 students from 4 or 5 counties that come in.
I've been that student.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I was making butter one day, I think, when I went out there.
We're doing something real interesting. And on June 1st in the eastern part of the county, we're taking a bus tour on one of the routes of one of the old railroads, the Manistee and Grand Rapids Railroad. The railroad's not there anymore, but the railroad bed is, and we're going to talk about that on June 1st. We'll have Maritime History Days sometime in May. We've Love Ludington weekend. I'll be leading tours to the bed and breakfast homes here during that weekend. So we've got that going on. We have a trial and so forth. That we did last year. We'll have another one this year.
And all this is information is available on the website if they need to see out there. So, no, that's really great. We're basically at the end of the show here right now. And that's, again, as I mentioned earlier here, Jim, that you were on the list of folks I wanted to have here. Because when you talk about outsized impact and what leadership means within a community, that's you. You're one of those people that the ripples that you've made in the lake around here, they're wide and far through taking care of yourself, but also through your family and the community. So we are a much better place for having you around here. So thank you so much for everything you've done.
You.
Again, that's about all the time we have for today. Again, I want to thank James for joining us to share his leadership journey. Again, it's fascinating. Like I said, I'm going to follow up with you because I got more questions. Now, I've partnered with the Chamber Alliance of Mason County and the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce to offer business education courses in the local area. The first course is focused on a hiring system that my clients use to attract amazing people, and the second course is the step-by-step method to have effective coaching conversations with your employees to help them improve performance. Now, please visit each of the Chamber's websites for more information about the dates, times, and how to sign up. For those who aren't following Summit Business Guides on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, you are missing out on a lot of information I share with my clients. I'm easy to find. Just search for Summit Business Guides and click the subscribe button. You'll be glad you did. It's really that easy. But also be sure to connect with me personally on LinkedIn. I have a lot of information and I communicate frequently on LinkedIn as well. And if you'd like to connect for a deeper conversation about how I might be able to help you, send me a note at ryan@summitbusinessguides.com. Now, I am always looking for new leaders to have on this program and give them an opportunity to share their stories. If you know a leader making an impact, go to summitbusinessguides.com, Leading West Michigan, and submit their name for consideration. Join us next week. I'll be having Randy Hendrick, the Executive Director for Hospitality, Inc., joins me to discuss her journey to become a West Michigan leader.
You've been listening to Leading West Michigan with Ryan Howe, a weekly program where you hear success stories of local officials and business leaders. Join us next week for more of Leading West Michigan right here on 102.7 W.